Welcome to another episode of Builders, Budgets, and Beers. Today we have Thomas Joseph of Joseph Design Build from Austin, Texas on the show. This is going to be an episode for the guys that really have some big dreams. Big dreams meaning like competing with D.R. Horton and Lennar. Thomas goes through their 10 years of building in Austin. The product they were building, they're all doing infill speculative building. They typically were doing a 3 to call it 8 million product. And now they're going for volume. They're going down to the 750,000 to a million and a half price point, and they're wanting to go to 150 to 200 units. So in this episode, that's where we talk about knowing your numbers, getting to a position to making that decision, and how to do it the smart way. Learn from Thomas. Let's go ahead and jump in. I was on the HOA. What were you talking about?
When your beard was shorter, you looked like you were an active member of the HOA, like the guy that complains about the trash cans. It's like, should we really allow trick-or-treating this year?
Yeah.
That's what you looked like. But the big beard, you look like the wild man that I know and love. So this is much.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I'm definitely going back for length. When I lived down in Texas, I really get nervous about people cutting my hair. And I like my guy in Denver. So I just completely went rogue when I was in Dallas and came back. Okay. But I didn't plan accordingly. So I ended up getting a different guy at the barbershop cutting my hair anyways. So I'm kind of on like the third, fourth month of getting back to zero, getting a little bit of a canvas for him to work with.
Right. I mean, the turnover at Supercuts is crazy, man. I see why you're struggling over that.
I'm a sports clips guy. I'm going for endorsements. Supercuts. That was, is it Supercuts or Super Clips?
I don't know. I feel like that's a Walgreens CVS thing, right?
Yeah, dude. I think it was. You get a haircut for like $6.
Right.
Crazy.
It's just like crazy. The shittiest person fresh out of school, ready to mangle your head.
That's right. They're just trying to get some cuts under their belt.
Yeah.
But how are you, dude?
I'm doing good, man. I'm a little tired, but I was like, I'm not going to cancel on Reece no matter what. So I'm here, and I'm excited to talk to you.
I appreciate it. And you just look all dolled up as normal. Just absolutely polished. What kind of shirt is that? It looks like a doily turned into a shirt.
Yeah, that's what Gabe said. Gabe's like, you look like you're wearing your tablecloth. It's Ted Baker. It's kind of like a
old Teddy Baker, huh?
Yeah, it's like almost like a modern seersucker. This is hot weather fancy t-shirts.
This is Austin's summer garb right here.
Yeah. And like you, it looks like I could light a match off of your overshirt. I didn't even have to see the label, know that was Carhartt.
Yeah. No, I threw it on. It's a little overcasty, kind of chilly here in Omaha or in Denver. Yeah. I was in Omaha this week.
Yeah, because you're so blue collar, it makes sense that you wear tons of workman's wear.
Dude, if you knew me in my personal life, you'd know that I just cannot stay away from hammers.
Right?
Just get me on a framing crew. That's my life.
You spend the whole weekend in the garage,
Yeah, dude, just tinkering around the house. I'm a tinkerer. I just like to find things to do.
Hey, honey, I got this bass on the wall that talks to me when I walk by. You're that guy, right?
I'm like sharpening my chisels on the weekend. Like, I never use them, but you got to make sure they're sharp.
Yeah. You got the wall where it's like there's the outline of the thing that's supposed to go there.
That's super organized.
Stay out of the garage.
I get a nick in my level and I just go bananas.
Right. You snap it over your knee. I'm going for a walk. I gotta go.
This is worthless now. This is worthless. It's completely out of touch. How am I supposed to know if anything's plumb? Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, we're recording, so this is like good roll. We could start here, honestly.
Sure. What do you want to talk about?
But so I always like just to start it off for the listeners to know who is on the show. You give them a little background on yourself, and then we'll just dive into the backstory of JDB, what's going new in your world, just some nice chatter.
Sure. So I'm Thomas Joseph. One of the co-founders of Joseph Design Build. We are an infill luxury builder in Austin, Texas. We're vertically integrated, so we do the whole stack. So we do everything from the real estate piece, the acquisitions, architecture, interior design, structural, civil engineering, construction, and then the marketing, sales on the way out. We historically have been focused on architectural homes in the downtown Austin area that would be luxury, kind of $3 to $6 million price point neighborhoods within 10 minutes of downtown. And this is infill, so it's knocking down an old house to build a house. So no
Love it.
subdivisions, it's all scattered lot. Um, that's historically what we've done. And then this year, we went out and we raised money and we created a new partnership that led to a merger. And so now we are pushing down in price and up in volume and scaling at a pretty rapid pace. So now the city changed the rules where instead of doing one big house, we can do three on a lot. So now we're doing more of like a townhouse type product. So these will be like 750 to 1.5 million, trying to get our average down below 1 million. And we'll push to do, we're on pace that we will have in the pipeline probably 250 homes by the end of the year. We're up to 130 right now. So that's stuff that we'll do ourselves. And then we also do third party design and build for other developers. So we're doing 100 houses for a developer in Austin and another 100 in Dallas with the same kind of program where we'll do the full stack, the design, the build, and it may or may not do the marketing sales at the end.
Dude, that's a really big deal. Like, I've known you for 3 years
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
basically.
4 years.
And like, you guys have always been doing like homes that you see and you're like, if I could own one day, that would be insane. And not to say that you guys are going to be dropping on quality, but the fact that you're going to be doing 150 to 200 units now, I
Yeah,
feel like this is a huge pivot.
it is.
Like,
It's a
give them a little background on JDB. I mean, what, 12 months ago? Like, if you give like a 12-month look around, like look back, is that
yeah.
like a just, it's like a flip switch, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just being transparent. I mean, end of 2022, they started raising interest rates, and depending on where you were in the market and the price points, but if you were in Austin and you were selling a house above $3 million, you had about a 30-40% drop in values within 6 months, and then it's been an absolute bloodbath where
Damn.
probably half the builders in that segment are out of business. Your bigger, more scaled operators are out of business, and all kinds of crazy fallout and investigations and stuff. So the mom and pops are gone, the big guys are gone, and that market really went off the cliff. It was the biggest run up in the country, and then it was probably the biggest drop in the country. And now that's luxury infill, so that's a subset. The whole market, it wasn't that bad. The whole market is probably down 12.5% from the peak if you just went dead averages. But
Mhm.
it's lower volume transaction. Things aren't moving. That's on the sales side. On the custom side, the consumer confidence is low, so people really aren't building. Um, so yeah, I mean, 12 months ago, we were staring down the gun barrel of, hey, we've got all these big expensive specs. They're not selling. That market's probably not turning around anytime soon. Um, we also at that time did customs, and it was like, hey, people don't feel comfortable spending 3, 4, $5 million on a custom because people are worried about interest rates, they're worried about the election, now they're worried about trade war and real war, and that consumer confidence at the high end is everything, right? Even if logically people can still afford the homes, and even if they still want to be in the city, and even if they have a job or a tax advantage or a real purpose to be in the city, when that confidence goes, people just pull out of the market completely. So
Sure.
that's where it was. And in an effort to pivot and try to get to a deeper buyer pool and more affordable price points, and in response to the city changing the rules, we went hard after that, developed a program with the kind of thought that, hey, can we take what we do really, really well on these big, more elaborate, more custom, kind of more architecturally focused homes, and can we do something more approachable where we take all that cool design, but we do something a little bit simpler for the missing middle, kind of saying like, hey, why, if you shouldn't have to spend $3 million to get an interesting home that's architectural, that's got a lot of features, that's got a lot of technology. You should be able to get that at a lower price point. And so that was kind of the thinking. It was like, all right, let's take advantage of what the city's doing with density, but let's bring what we know and what we do well, and bring it down to lower price points. So make the designs cool. These are smart homes where we're giving them a full smart home package with speakers and automated lighting and like a Wi-Fi hub and automated blinds. Like this is a package that we would have put in a $5 million house, we're putting it in a $750,000 townhouse. So
Right.
really saying, hey, let's really deliver a lot at those price points, um, and the bet is that the folks that would have spent a million plus when interest rates were low, now if you can offer something that's really great, that's more affordable, they'll come back to the market, and they'll stop renting and they'll say, yeah, let me pull the trigger on something that's really great. Because there's not a lot of good offerings in that price point, right? Especially in these cities, it's like you get real garbage if you're not willing to spend a lot of money. Uh,
Totally. Two things, and help me remember the first one in terms of like the numbers, because like I think it's super interesting that you're taking, or you made the comment of like, you don't need to spend 3-4 million bucks to get the architectural design and like that high quality type feel. Like, why can't we just scale that back and go into like a million, seven
yeah,
hundred fifty million dollar product? So that's the first one. But the second point that I wanted to talk about, I think I lost my train of thought. I'll think of it.
if
Hit
you could
that first question.
if you could
Yeah,
do the exterior completely out of Carhartt, wouldn't that be an attractive home?
I think so. And if we're thinking like dungaree finishes, like that would just be beautiful.
Axe handle for the front door hardware, you know. Um, you just got
Yeah,
lost in your
yeah.
like workman fantasy there. You went
Dude,
complete
no,
pro
it was
shop.
it was good. It was a
If I
topic
could
that we
just hunt inside the Bass Pro Shops,
oh, I could just dude. Now you're not helping, dude. I'm further away. I'm further away. Talk to me
oh man,
about the price, like, dude. So, what do you have to know from your numbers, like the confidence standpoint? Because you and Gabe were just like, call it 10x our volume,
yeah.
drop our prices by a third. Like, where do you get the conviction on that? Because it's simple, right? It makes all the sense in the world on paper, but how do you have the confidence that you can do that?
My mom was really nice to me when I was a kid, and I
Self
breastfed till
esteem
I
is
was like
through the roof.
17, so I just have all this confidence. No, so a couple of things. One was merging, so joining an organization that was already doing a few things really well at scale. One of the things that organization was doing is they were using a combination of local and offshore folks for their design team. So your ability to build a lot of operational capacity without a ton of money by utilizing some lower cost folks overseas was massive, and that's something we'd never done before. Opening up your material sourcing to be willing to go factory direct, whether that's
Mhm,
domestic, nearshore, or offshore, and deal with the complexity of buying things in bulk and going directly to factories and cutting out retailers to get pricing down. So they brought that. That was extremely helpful to feel good about. Hey, we can get our build costs down low enough to actually be competitive at these different price points because you can't just spend $500 a foot. Um, if you're not selling for 1,000. So there was that. The other side of it was one of our main partners just brought a level of financial sophistication
mhm,
that was very. I mean, for me, it's very inspirational because I'm like, wow, this is all the stuff that I would like to know and get to, and that really helped us start looking at things like, okay, how can you be process oriented? How can you be systematic? How can you fight for every inch? And
mhm,
always be hammering your process to be like, how do you be a little bit faster, go a little bit smoother, pull out extraneous cost, and really think about these things with a mindset towards scale.
mhm.
Um, and and that I think was the big shift. So it's a combination of organizational change and then some individuals with different mindsets really hammering this idea of process and organization, right? Because you can build a bunch of houses and be incredibly inefficient. You can have terrible financials. You can do all this stuff really bad. But if you build cool houses, ultimately, no matter how you get there, they'll sell and you'll make some money and you'll think you did a good job. But you can't do that 1,000 times unless you're really, really dialed in.
Mhm.
And that volume, I think, fleshes out all the mistakes and the weaknesses. So yeah, so seeing a different way of doing it and really focusing on getting organized and capacity building in ways that we hadn't before, and having some good people involved to help lead that charge and kind of bring us along and help us evolve and change our mindset.
Totally. How long have you guys been building, you and Gabe?
We've been building, well, shit. I mean, so here in Austin, we'd be like 11, going on 12 years.
Okay.
But we grew up in construction. I mean, my dad was a builder, my grandpa was a builder. We've always been around job sites. I mean, Gabe was a framer. I was a laborer. So I used to pick up trash
Hell
on
yeah.
rates, which is, yeah,
Yeah,
you
the
say
old
that. Yeah.
trash man.
This was
The old
summertime
trash.
in Albuquerque, so you're just covered in dust and like even like the lowest level guy in the job sites like pick up that trash. You're like, oh man.
You might as well. You're probably doing community service.
Yeah,
You're probably labeling it as like a job by your dad. You're probably just doing community
yeah, I was
service.
an at-risk youth, they're like, hey,
Yeah.
go to a job site. But yes,
Um,
we've always been around construction our whole lives and been on job sites and then a little bit of finance and but yeah, just always been in that world. Nothing like this, candidly. But
Totally. Well, and that's kind of what I'm getting to is like, we'll dig. I want to hear some of the tactical stuff that helped with this merger. But even more like, okay, call it 10 years in Austin. And like, let's just assume that you've been building the product that you've been selling for the last 10 years, right? Like a big
mhm,
high end product.
mhm.
Uh, could you have done this earlier? Like, do you think you could have like done the high end luxury thing, built a brand, built a name, got into the like the quality market and then pivoted into volume earlier? Or do you think that this was
Oh,
like all good experience that was worthwhile and it was the perfect storm and you saw an
yeah,
opportunity and took it? Like, tell me a little about that.
yeah, that's a great question. No, I don't think we could have done it earlier. And I'll tell you, and me and you talked a lot about this, I think, when we first met. So we tried to take a run at scaling earlier before
Mm-hmm.
interest rates shot up. I spent better part of a year really learning capital markets, getting familiar with private equity and sort of how institutional finance works, and then going out and engaging all these different private equity groups, working with like a capital markets person, and getting to the point of like getting term sheets and getting taken to credit committee with some big institutional private equity investors, all with the business model of, hey, let's scale the $3 to $6 million stuff. Um, and I'm so glad it didn't work out because basically all of that happened right before interest rates raised. Interest rates start going up. All of the private equity across all asset classes pulls back and does nothing for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I think had we done that, I think we would have gotten started and then just got caught in the bear trap even worse. We would have started
Yeah.
buying land, rates would have shot up, and then we would have just sat there. We would have had a bunch of half-built projects or a bunch of dirt in the permitting process, and the light switch would have got flipped off, and I
Yeah.
think we would have ended up in a much worse position because of the timing of that. So timing wise, no, I don't think could have done it earlier. And if you back that timeline up even more, had we done it 5 years ago, we could have been doing 1,000 houses by the time rates shot up and then really exploded. And we would have ended up like some of the bigger guys here in town. So that would have been worse. Um, but the other thing is just temperament wise, I think that seeing all these lessons the last 3 years of the market being so brutal
Mm-hmm.
um, and having spent enough time kind of studying what the more scale operations do and stuff to understand that, like, hey, there's a way to get there, but it's not the way I was thinking. And then had some really hard learned lessons along the way. I think we are much more prepared for the opportunity now than we've ever been. And I think we were poised to not make some of the mistakes that I think I would have made, um, like not emphasizing process and not being as tight on everything and not taking the
Mm-hmm.
mindset of, every single second and dollar and inch counts. Um, and I think that's the only way that you can really scale effectively. And so I think had I tried to do this any younger, if had we tried to do it any sooner, I think we probably would have done it in a fast and loose way, and we probably would have made a lot of money, and then at some point just blew up.
Already, team. So today we're actually piloting our first ad, if you want to call it that. It's really more just a promotion. We just got back from the Contractor Coalition Summit in Omaha, Nebraska, and it was a fantastic event. I suggest it for anyone who's doing $1 million a year in construction cost to $50 million a year in construction cost, even bigger. I mean, the entire gamut of people that were there were pretty incredible. And really, what this is just an opportunity to learn from the best. Extremely collaborative. When I'd asked builders why are they there and what the value of this event is, they said networking and learning from others. So what we have with the Contractor Coalition Summit is actually a promo code. If you go to my Instagram, adaptive Reece with a C, REECE, and you go to my bio, you'll actually see the adaptive code and the code to get 20% off your ticket for the Contractor Coalition Summit is adaptive25. Again, you can use our code to get 20% off the Contractor Coalition Summit, and that code is adaptive25. You just have to put that in the promotion link field when you're getting registered for the event. Now, when's the next event? The next event's going to be in Chicago, and it's on November 7th through the 10th of 2025. If you have any questions or if this promo didn't land, jump into my DMs. Again, my Instagram is adaptive Reece, Reece, and we can DM back and forth. You can give me a call. You can leave comments in the section, but we'd love to get you there, and we're incentivizing you as well. Because I know like the last 18 months were like pretty tough. What were some of those just like beat up moments for you? Like just the brutal at the time, but awesome learning experience situations for you.
Well, I mean, I think
you talked about interest rates.
So yeah, so interest rates go up, houses aren't selling. I mean, you can imagine the fallout with that. Now you've got investors that are upset because they're going to lose real money. You're watching future income erode, which starts to jeopardize your ability to carry overhead, professionally and personally, right? And so the stress of that, because you've got a lot of people that trust you with their livelihoods, with their money, with their families. So carrying that weight is a big deal. And then I think seeing like, hey, there's no end in sight, right? Just being like, all right, well, I thought when rates started going up, I thought maybe this is 12 to 18 months, but then it just keeps going and going and going. And even now I look at it, I'm like, man, I thought for sure this would have been a recovery year, and rates started coming down. We got past the election, and then people are still freaked out because of the trade war stuff and now the Iran stuff and the Israel stuff, right. And what's coming around next month, who knows? And so I think that having that weight of, okay, you're watching everything go down. You're flying the plane and the ground is getting closer and closer and closer, and the plane's full of people, and you don't have the ability to you don't have a way to pull up, right? You can't just you don't have more power.
Sure.
I think the stress of that, the pressure of that, I think was tough because it was so long lasting, right? It wasn't like, oh, you had a bad week. It's just like, it's like year 3. It's like when these, I don't know, I was a big fan of Band of Brothers, right? It's like guys where it's like they follow them. It's like, all right, they're in D-Day, and anybody would have been D-Day and been like, ugh, glad I got my arm blown off. I'm going home. That was crazy. And these guys, like, they made it all the way through Europe, and then they end up in the Pacific, and it's like, God, we're still here. We've been doing this for 3 years. This is brutal. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't even recognize them. They like smoke unfiltered cigarettes now, and it's like, you know what I mean? It's crazy. So that's how I
chugging white Monster energy drinks.
Yeah, I feel like I've gone on campaign, and and me and my brother now these like it's like when they release a pig in the wild and it turns into like a wild boar. It grows like tusks and like all kinds of like hairy hair. That's how I feel.
Yeah, you look better than that.
Absolute killing machine now because it's been so brutal. But I kind of like it. I'll tell you, it's brought out the best in me. So, but yeah, so I think that's where it gets hard, is just managing all of that. But I think what the positive in that is that I think it's really important, and there's probably a lot of builders going through the same stuff right now, is you got to look at it and say like, all right, what have I done? Right? Mm-hmm. All right, you've built a bunch of houses. You've done a lot of really good work. And I think everybody's done good things, right? Mm-hmm. You got to understand that you're the same person that was capable of doing those good things that you've done, even though you're in a bad market or a bad climate or a bad period of time, and that you don't actually ever really lose your capability, right? Mm-hmm. So you can lose money, you can lose staff, you can lose clients, you can lose your house, you can lose all these different things. But if you were capable of producing in our industry great work, you're still capable of that. And so there's still a value in that, and that you now just have to pivot and find where can you apply that skill set and that ability where it has value again. So you never really quite lose that. So yeah, I would caution everybody to remember that, because when the market's shitty, you just tend to think it'll be like that forever, or like, why do I even build these houses? Nobody wants them, but right. It's a real capability. And so the market does turn around eventually, or an opportunity presents itself, and you still have that same skill set. So you just got to be willing to kind of tough it out until there's an opportunity to use it again.
Totally. No, well, and I think that actually reminded me of what I was going to say, is like, you're never like your skills never going to diminish, right? Like your ability isn't going to diminish. Like you go through these things, you go through these trials and tribulations, and like as long as you're methodical and rational about what's going on, like you'll still climb and climb and climb,
Right.
not even considering the market conditions or the external factors that you just cannot control. It's like that fluffy, like control what you can control. A lot of validity in that, right? But it gets overused. And like, this is just kind of a great example of that. So I don't forget, I was in Omaha this weekend at the Contractor Coalition Summit. Have you heard of it?
No.
So we can talk about it later. But basically what it is it's like Nick Schiffer, he's NS Builders, Brad Levitt, AFT in Phoenix, Mark Williams, Morgan Molitor, Tyler Grace, like all these big builders that have these big Instagram followings. They put on this summit of like knowledge transfer.
Awesome.
Okay. And they bring all these builders in to like just open book discussion. Like, how do we do things, from a marketing standpoint, from an ICP standpoint, to a sales funnel, to a build practice, to a financial practice, everything. Right. Okay. Well, Adaptive, we sponsored it. Awesome. We were one of the sponsors. And myself, Daniel Martinez, and Matt Gummersbach. Have you met Daniel or Gum?
I don't think so.
Yeah, you'd love Daniel. Gummersbach, you would love Gummersbach too. He's just, again, one of the smartest guys I know. We can talk about Gum later. Point being is we were there, and
you're naming tons of dudes. I like that you named like 40 people. This is a lot of buildup.
Yeah.
There, it's just everybody.
Name dropping. I'm a name dropper.
You are, man.
I'm a name dropper.
I feel bad. I don't know any of these names. I'm like,
it's okay. We can make introductions. Don't feel bad. What are you feeling bad for? You just settle down. Are you getting nervous? I think you're getting nervous.
People. I'm like, was these characters on The Last of Us? What is he saying?
Okay, let me get to the point of I did like a 20-minute presentation on not Adaptive, like the features, but the problem solution that we're solving.
Right.
And one of the pieces that I really wanted to drive home, and we see this with builders all the time, is you got to know your numbers. Okay. Yes. I pose it this way, like before you start to scale, know what the cost of your widget is. More importantly, know what you're going to profit on the widget. Right? Like before you start like just running out and chasing a bunch of volume, know that you're at least going to make money doing it. Right. And I wanted to bring that piece up because I want to know how much of your and Gabe's and the rest of the team's decision making. And again, going from how many units were you doing? 10 a year?
We would do like 10 to 25.
10 to 25 infills a year. And now you're going to do 150 to 200, like quite literally 10x your volume.
Yeah.
How much of that was you knowing the cost and the profit on the widget or the $3 to $5 million home, and then your ability to track that down into a product that you're like, we can certainly make money on this.
Yeah,
we're bullish enough to go raise and execute.
Yep. No, I think that's everything. So I'll tell you, like every single piece of the business is designed to maximize margin. So the fact that we do infill instead of suburban production, it's because our margins are 3 times what they are in the suburbs. The reason we do the vertical integration and we perform so many of the pieces of parts ourselves is to capture margin. We control the marketing and sales so we can get the feedback so that we can optimize the houses to increase I mean, everything we do is margin driven. So I think understanding how all these pieces impact that, and then also like saying like, what business do you want to go after? Like the point you're making, it's like, hey, not all business is good. Right. And we own a concrete company too, where like we did a school and it was like a huge job for us. It was, it was probably, we would do slabs and stuff for other builders. So maybe an average slab was 50 to 250 grand. And this school was like a $3.5 million concrete job. And we thought like, oh, it's bigger numbers. It's going to be awesome. And it's going to be just like the other thing. And we weren't clear on our numbers. We weren't clear on margin. And it was a new type of work for us. And we lost a ton of money on it. And we thought, more is better or bigger numbers are better. And on the house side, it's like, like you can specifically go after clientele and submarkets where the margins are better. And I would encourage people to. It's like, it's harder to build in infill. You're in town, you got people on top of you, and you're in the middle of a neighborhood. But your margins are way better than if you build out in the country and there's nobody around, right? Or if you're willing to deal with the complexity of building in a mountain town, like in a resort town, your margins are insane because there's no competition. And where's your consumer elastic and what they're willing to pay. Um, so yeah, I think that hardcore focus on margins, and that's not just to help you make money in your business, but if you're out marketing to clients, knowing your numbers to where if you get a chance opportunity and you get a 5-minute conversation with somebody and you know your numbers,
Yeah.
you can build a ton of confidence and really convert people. So yeah, I think it pays to be quantitative. You do not want to be somebody that just, well, I think we can do it, and it seemed like a good job, and get to the end and be like, I don't know why we didn't make any money, damn it. Like I know
Yeah.
a lot of people are like that, regardless of the type of business, and I think that's you can be a lot more focused and deliberate with your time, and you'll make a ton more money, and it's a lot more stress. It's a lot less stressful, and the thing I've learned too is like high margin stuff will protect you. If you've got big margins, things can drop and you can still be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you got a 30-40% margin, it's like, well, you can absorb a lot of bad things. But if you run on a 10-12% margin, you better not make a mistake.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think knowing those numbers, knowing your margin, being deliberate about finding niches in the market where you can do better, there's less competition, and you can stretch your margin, stretch your advantage, I think is huge. Using the same skill set, doing the same amount of work to build the same kind of thing, just different target clients and different target areas can make all the difference.
Totally.
Margin.
Totally. What would you say was like the most impactful and tactical takeaway that you had? You brought about this up a little bit earlier in the conversation with the merger, right? You'd mentioned like there was some finance person that you were talking to that like offered a lot of insight and a lot of inspiration to you. What were some of the more tactical takeaways that you took from that experience on this? Know your numbers, know your margin, know your cost.
Yeah. So okay,
Am I asking the right question? Do you
yeah,
get what I'm
I
asking?
understand, I
Okay.
understand what you're asking. Yeah. So he's an active partner of ours, and not a finance person per se, but just a brilliant financial mind. And part of what the way he thinks that was helpful in shifting our thinking was this idea that like kind of realizing, hey, if somebody else is doing it, you can do it. If a national builder can get their build cost down to 70 to 90 bucks a foot, there's a path. It may be difficult. It may be something that you have to get to a certain size before you take advantage of it. It may involve financing structure that's not available to it. There may be reasons why it'll be harder, be more time consuming, or take a longer time to get there, but it's possible. Like, so if someone's doing it, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think tactically thinking about that, like, okay, how do we like to use tons of windows, right? Very modern designs. Like, well, how do we get our windows down? Well, can we buy them factory direct? Okay, well, that cuts out these like sales reps. We save a little bit of money. It's like, okay, well, what factories can produce windows for less money? And then where are they? And okay, how do we buy from them? And does that involve shipping and logistics and ordering in bulk? And okay, is all of that worth it? Do we pick up enough savings? Like that idea of like, yeah, this is all doable. None of this is impossible. So I think tactically thinking like that like the big nationals don't have, it's not, I mean, if you talk with them, it's not, most of it is just scale, but it's not proprietary technology, right? It's not like they're like, nobody knows how we do it. It's like they're stick framing houses in mass, and they just have really great supply chains and really great organizational processes, so they can do it faster and cheaper than most people. But a lot of that you can mimic and
Totally.
apply to your business. So I think just tactically thinking like that like lower costs or higher margins or more profit or more volume aren't these unobtainable mysteries. They're all things you can do. They just may take more effort, time, and money than you're willing to take on, or it may be a fact of you can take those things on. You need to bring in some other people or raise some money or make some partnerships or find ways to cobble it together. But it's all much more doable than I would have thought.
Totally. Well, and dude, I think that's like, what do you think keeps people from doing it? To your point, like it's not like it's a secret. It's not out there. What do you think keeps people from doing it?
It's funny. So, especially in our business, there's a lot of like what I would describe, and this is nothing wrong with this. If these people are probably happier than I am and probably sleep more than I do, but there's like what I would describe as like hobby farmers, where they're not Monsanto, right? They're like, hey, I just want to build a handful of houses a year and make a great income.
Mm-hmm.
And they like to be on the job site all the time. And that's how they want to do the business, and they have no interest or desire in more than that. And it's not because they couldn't or because they're afraid of it. Like they just wanted to have like a lifestyle business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think building homes, you can make a lot of money off of a few houses, and so it enables people to do that. So I think that's one part of it. I think the other part of it is, people in general, we are way more scared of loss than we are excited about gain. We're just wired that way, right? And it's a survival thing. Like it'd be crazy if you were like, I can jump that cliff, and there wouldn't be people.
Totally.
We all were wired just to be psycho risk takers.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of times people just get in their head about, oh, but if I take that jump, then it's all gonna fail, and then that will be so bad and so unbearable. I don't care if I would have made more money or had a little bit more. I'm just not willing to take that chance. So I think
Mm-hmm.
there's that hardwiring component, and then there's a cultural thing that I've seen broadly and I think it's an American thing where I say that like I'm European or something. I'm like, oh, it's
Aren't
American.
you? Aren't you Armenian?
I'm Lebanese, but
Lebanese, whatever. Okay.
I'm from upstate New York, so that's like as American as it gets. It's like Bruce
Yeah,
Springsteen,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
basically like leather jacket and a American flag bandana. But
yeah,
we
yeah,
have a cultural thing of winners and losers, right? Everybody wants to be
yeah,
Tom Brady. Nobody wants to
yeah.
be Ben Roethlisberger, and it's just we make people feel so much pressure. Like, one, you got to be a winner, but if you ever lose, you're a fucking loser forever, and that's
Right.
not true. But we make people feel like you just either win all the time, or once you lose, you're just this like white T-shirt with a big old like red stain on it, and you're a loser forever. And so I think
Yeah.
that paralyzes a lot of people because they just feel so worried of the embarrassment and shame of failure, and this idea that they will then be blemished as a loser forever because they took a chance. And I don't blame people, because look what we do to people. Like publicly, we like tear people down if they stumble at all, and um,
Totally.
social media makes people feel like everybody's doing better than them, and so there's a lot of pressure on people to like don't fuck up, don't ever fail. But it's resulted in people don't take a chance, and I think the sort of the secret, or the thing that people that are successful aren't telling people is like everyone fails constantly. Like every person I know with a lot of money has had multiple periods of time where they almost lost it all, where they were scared of losing it all, or they did lose it all and they went and built it back. But they
Right.
would take these big risks and they got desensitized to the risk taking. But for some reason, the mainstream makes everybody feel like it's so binary. So I think that fear of failure, because of the cultural implications of how it relates to your identity, that you now are a loser because you failed for some period of time. But I don't think that I don't subscribe to that, and I've just seen it too many times that like I know tons of people that, and I've experienced it, gone within an inch of broke and then made a ton of money, and then within an inch of broke and made a ton of money, and but I think that holds a lot of people back. It's been beaten their head that they should be afraid of it, kind of at the root of who they are.
So are you like, what's next for you? Are you gonna like give Grant Cardone a run for his money, or like Tony Robbins, and like just pump people up? No, dude, that was great. It was great. It's the truth, dude. It's like
Yeah,
roll the dice.
I
Roll the
think.
dice on the skills that you've developed, and like you're gonna lose either
Yeah,
way.
no, it's true. Well, what's next is I'm going to go to Bass Pro Shops, and I'm going to try to buy you, you know, your Christmas present, your birthday present. I'm just going to be like, I need like 200 yards of really scratchy fabric to give to Reese.
And I'm gonna go and raid every grandmother's linen closet, and we'll have miles of garments
That's
for the
right.
rest of
If
our
you
lives.
could help produce me a full doily outfit, this is the shirt. I need the doily pants and some doily shoes. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, you probably have them on. There's probably a one piece. There's probably
that's
something you scooped up on the beaches of Mexico, or like an outfit you bought for Turks and Caicos, and you're just like
Yeah,
rocking it right now.
that's right.
Last serious question here, and I am curious just because I love you and your brother. It's been awesome working with you guys. Do you guys actually want to do like a DR Horton Lennar type thing, or
100%. So
badass?
the
Cool.
the goal is to be a national scale infill production builder focusing on design and technology. So the idea is give that missing middle in all these urban areas, really awesome, technologically advanced, well-designed homes in these price points that people can afford, and not just produce really boring stuff that feels like a compromise to the consumer. We want to do that in multiple markets. We're in Austin, Dallas now. I think next stop's probably Nashville and Raleigh. And the goal is in 5 years to be $1 billion company and be in 5+ markets. And I think we have the right people and backing and knowledge base to do that.
Dude, I love it. I think that's sweet. And that's, I mean, I think in terms of like the boring product conversation, we were talking about this in Omaha. And it's like, how many of the Lennar and DR Horton, I'd love to have one of their like execs on the pod one day. Maybe that's a goal. But like, like the product that they're actually building, the people that I know that have bought a DR or a Lennar house, it's like in the first like year, 2 years, 5 years, they have some like really serious shit go wrong with their house. And you start looking at like they're just cranking production and they're trying to fill an inventory shortage. And this is the opportunity for them to hit their velocity. But then you're getting a 30-year mortgage on a product that's going to last 15 years, 20 years. Like it might not even last the life of the loan, right?
So this is going to be a contrarian opinion here. I'm going to give you my.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So I actually think the national builders actually do it really, really well. And I'll tell you, when it comes to floor plans, utilization of space, sort of optimizing, I think it's hard to beat what a national builder can do with space. I think that their process of production is by far the best. Their ability to produce more things in a cost-effective manner. Now, I think that because of the price points that they tend to operate in and because of the costs they have to get to, they can't do all the extra things always that would probably be more beneficial to the consumer. But it's a function of the price point that consumer wants and the scale they're playing at, right? So to me, it's like, hey, people want Zara. You're not pissed at Zara that's not Laura Piana. You're just like, hey, I went to Zara because I wanted a $20 leather jacket because I'm going to a nightclub because I want to impress Thomas because we're in Vegas and it's my birthday, right? And it's white.
Sure, totally.
And that's how I forever see you, just an all white suit with no shirt on in the Aria lobby, but smoking a cigarette and then telling me happy birthday.
Dude, if only that happened.
They do it really well, is my point. And they do it really well. And I think they do it as best you can in the price points they're in. My only knock on them, and it's not, and they could wake up tomorrow and decide to do this and probably smoke it, but they're just selling to the fattest part of the bell curve. And so I don't think there's much emphasis on design to be interesting, right? They're like, we don't really need to, these don't need to be cool. There's no, there isn't a tremendous value in them for that, because I think turning a big ship like that is slow and difficult. And I think that for them, they're like, hey, we need to have 20 floor plans that we can build 20,000 of a year. We're not going to do a bunch of cool, tricky things. And we really don't need to reinvent ourselves and be technology focused or be very like design oriented, because they've already cornered sort of the beef of the market that maybe doesn't care about that, right? Like not everybody is buying a shirt that looks like a doily. Some people just bathe in Carhartt and, and that's what they like. So I don't think they're the villain that people think they are. And I know like every builder listening to this knows we all get warranty calls. We all, despite best efforts, houses are, wabi-sabi, the imperfection of creation. They're hand built in the field by 20-year-olds outside, right? There's always stuff that messes up with them. And so, hollow core doors is, a decision based on a price point, but it's not because they're villainous and, that they're bad at it. It's that they're so good at it, but they're valuing different things. And so I think there's room to come in and say, let's value design and technology, and then do the supply chain things to do that and be competitive on price and go where the market can afford that. Right. So
totally
focus on infill. There's a little bit more money to spend and make the houses a little bit cooler. Whereas at the absolute entry level, it's a more difficult proposition. You got to have real scale, but I think there's still room for it. But yeah, I think the national builders are good at what they do. I think there's just room to do it a little bit cooler.
I like your perspective a lot better than mine. And truthfully, like that makes a hell of a lot of sense. I think that's probably a message that needs like share it a little bit more broadly.
Yeah. You were hoping I'd say, yeah, they're so
No,
in
no,
there
I think
5 billion a year in sales.
what happened is exactly what should have happened, because like I truly sit here and I'm like, dude, what is happening with like everything I hear about these houses is just like falling apart. Shit happens here, that, and the other. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, are you like, is this like a recency bias or is this like actually the case? And it's probably more of like a recency bias and like,
It
wow,
can
I
be.
just spent, go ahead.
Yeah, it can be. It could be that. I mean, it's, you know, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, you're used to living in apartments where anything goes wrong, you just call somebody.
Right,
And even then, it's like you weren't living in that nice of an apartment, right? All
right,
of us when we were in our 20s, it's like we weren't living good. So we get into a home, and here's what it is. The expectation is everything is a manufactured good. You buy a car from a factory, it's perfect. If it's imperfect, you give it back, they give you another one, it's perfect, right? Everything
hmm,
has to be perfect. But houses are hand built by a bunch of crazy, just slightly older than teenagers, right?
right,
Outside.
right.
And the craziest part, outside, it's
In the
105.
elements.
They're smoking cigarettes, drinking Monster energy drinks, and no
Yeah,
water, and with a hangover, and they're building these out. I mean, that's just the reality of it. It's like your dad building you a fort. Were you pissed that fort didn't hold up so good? So I just think we're used to buying perfect things, perfect products. We get an iPhone, it's fucking flawless. And you
yeah,
get a house and you're like, this fucking the drywall cracks a little bit and that door sticks a little bit and they touched up the paint, but I can see that they touched it up. And isn't that just all of us, Reece? Aren't we all just imperfect creations, just doing our best, So
if anything, this podcast, I hope this was helpful for the listeners, but it made me realize how much I do miss spending time with you. A wealth of knowledge, just a salesman at heart with nothing but logic. Just,
you know,
it's awesome. It's awesome. I love it. I'm gonna go to Bass Pro Shop and catch some lunch. Thomas, I appreciate you for hopping on, dude. This
yeah,
is
thanks for having
this is
me,
a great
man.
episode. This is a
It was
great
good to hang
episode.
out with you too. I
Yeah,
remember
we'll
you're in Boston now, right?
dude. So the wife and I were selling our house in Denver. So if there's anyone
Yep.
on here who's trying to buy a house in Denver, it's on the market. Um, and we're getting ready to move to Boston. Yeah, to stand up a little go-to-market office for
All right.
Adaptive.
Well, I'm gonna have to come see you in Boston and just harass you. This is the thing. I always forget. I give you so much shit, and then I see you in person, and you're a big dude, and I go, "Oh, why did I say all that?" Reese is like 6'3" and burly, and clearly played football.
Yeah,
And then
dude, I'm not 6'3". I'm not
you're
6'3".
like
I
6'3".
look like a
You're
center, maybe.
you're a big dude in real life,
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Why did you take any of my shit when I see you?"
It's because you wear cashmere sweaters and chains.
That's right.
Like, I'm scared of you. It's like this guy knows someone that could give me a pair of concrete
At,
galoshes.
at least I'm shiny enough that if you attack me, the light will reflect, and people will be like, "Something's going on over there. That nice shiny man."
There's a flash. I love it. I love it. Okay, well, we'll catch up more here later. I've got some updates for you on the old Adaptive.
Cool.
But dude, I appreciate the hell out of you. Thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, thanks
Um,
for having me, man.
of course, we'll talk soon.
All right, man. Later.
Yeah.